Yeah, welcome from my side. I have the honor, thank you very much for whoever picked that, to be able to kick this off here, this conference. I'm sure it'll be great, and I hope I can give you a little bit of inspiration and kick it off in a fun way. Yeah, what was talk, a bag full of trust? This is something that I've actually not heard myself, but people quoted that to me that at some point Kian, either several times or at least once, said that everybody who starts here new at AOE basically gets a bag full of trust. And I love that picture, that metaphor, and so I said, well, this is a perfect title for my talk, for a talk about trust that I could give. I want to emphasize, though, that this is not a talk about trust at AOE. Even though the quote is from Kian, this is a talk about trust in general. It is really very clear. I might actually consider using that talk and giving it at other conferences also. I mean, sure, it's true for everything, so AOE can hopefully, and you guys all can hopefully benefit from it, but it's not targeted at AOE, it's not based on the situation here or anything. So that's, even though the quote is from Kian, don't misunderstand that now I'm talking about how it is here. That's not how it is. I'm talking about trust in general, about trust in organizations, about trust in relationships, and so on. So, but the bag, of course, if I have the metaphor here, it's actually even a bag that I stole from Frank Dreiling. He had this in his store of possible goodies or giveaways or AOE branded things. There's no brand on it. I would have liked to have that, but well, at least it's orange. So I have a bag full of trust, and maybe we'll be able to see what's in it and what we'll do with it later. Now I'm already so late that I need to hurry. Maybe we can't even open it now. Not really. Yeah, what's trust? What is this thing, trust? I mean, trust is, it's there, but what is the definition? How would you guys define trust? Anyone help me? What do you guys?
A belief of goodwill or something like that?
Excuse me?
A belief of goodwill.
Goodwill, yes. Anybody else? Suggestions? Ideas? What is trust for you? What do you do when you give somebody trust?
Knowing that you can rely on the person.
Yep. Irene? Yes. Yes. So lots of little things that come together in my definition. Trust is when you assume vulnerability. Now, you don't give anybody trust if the outcome is negative and it doesn't affect you very much, then there's not much trust involved. You give somebody trust if you make yourself vulnerable. And then, because you give trust to that person, you assume that the outcome will be positive, that you will get what you hope to get and not something else. So I make myself vulnerable, but because I trust this person, I expect that it will, or this group or this organization or whatever, I expect that something positive will come out of it, or that what I hope for will come out of it, and not something negative. And that my vulnerability will not be abused or exposed or whatever. That's what to me. This is not a general, I do not know, I did not even look into a dictionary. I do not know if that's the official definition, but this is from various books that I read and everything. I kind of, came up with this or used it from one of the books because I feel this is a very strong and very clear definition. I say, I trust you, and if something goes wrong, then I have a problem, and that's what it means. Okay? So that would be very important to go into this talk. Now the question is, why do I talk about this at all? What makes it so interesting? You know, trust, it's a kind of lots of people think it's kind of a soft thing. It's kind of can we measure it at all? And yeah, it's nice if it's there, but do we really need it? And so on and so on. And in my opinion, trust is actually quite a hard thing, and you can partially even at least observe, maybe even measure it, and it's an incredible basis for all human relationships almost, and of course therefore also relationships in the work environment. If you don't have a trustful environment, everything will slow down, is my opinion. And these are some of the things that I want to show you or talk to you about why I believe it is incredibly important and we need to be very, very conscious about trust in our work environment as well, not just in our private relationships and everything, but in our work environment also. Why this helps us, why this makes a company and organization better. This is why, these are some of the reasons. Teamwork. Without trust in a team, it will be much harder. You will need to have all kinds of rules, you will need to have all kinds of insurances, you will, you're not sure what you will get from the other person, from the rest of the team. If you don't have to worry about any of this anymore, because you trust each other, it will make it so much more efficient. You will be opener, you will go and ask for help without a problem. You don't worry, because if I ask somebody for help, if I don't trust him, he might abuse this. He says, oh, this guy doesn't know his stuff, or he makes fun of me, or whatever it may be. If I have a trustful relationship with my team, I can ask for help, no problem. Easy. I can make a mistake, no problem. No problem. We trust each other. We can work with that. So teamwork really works with trust a lot better than without. You have to spend much less effort. Trust enables delegation. Delegation is something, let me a side sentence, when I talk about delegation, I don't mean delegation of tasks. That's micromanagement. I mean delegation of decisions. Decision power. I delegate the ability to make decisions. I tell people you are allowed to decide stuff, and I cannot do this if I don't trust these people. I will not do this, or I will do it much less, or I will do it very restricted way. So delegation cannot work very well if you don't have a trustful relationship. And that works the other way around also. Whoever I delegate a decision to, if they are afraid that I will not accept their decisions, that I veto, that I will blame them if something goes wrong, etc., then they will not accept that. They will not accept the delegation. So the trust works both ways, of course. Yeah. You need both the person delegating as well as the person that gets the delegation, both need to have trust to the other person. Trust allows for experimentation. That means, what is a characteristic of experimentation? Failure. Well, hopefully not always, but the outcome is unclear. Failure is possible, indeed. Yeah. If you experiment, maybe you have a better than 50% chance, because you thought about it a lot, that the experiment will be successful, but there's a good chance that it won't be successful. That's why it's an experiment. Otherwise, it's a good practice, and you repeat the good practice. But if you don't know what the outcome will be, you have this issue of saying, ooh, it could really fail. And if you don't have a trustful situation in your organization, that might be a real problem, because failure will not be easily tolerated then. If you trust people, say, hey, do it, I'll let you do it, I believe that there's a good chance that the outcome will be positive, and if not, then we'll just think about how we can learn from it, because that's a very positive effect of failed experiments. We understand why it fails, and we try to learn from it. This is not easily possible if there's not a good and trustful relationship. Feedback, feedback can be very frustrating and very, how should I say, can be hard to accept. But if you feel like this other person that gives you the feedback really just means my best and wants me to be able to improve, then if I trust that person to do that, then I will accept the feedback in a totally different way. Otherwise, I'll sit there and say, I don't know, he just wants to tell me off, he just wants to tell me this is not working, and next thing I'll get a letter to, warn me, and then I'll be fired, and I don't know what. And this does not help. So if you have a really trustful relationship, what you need to, you can accept feedback. You can use it and take it and run with it and get better. If not, then you have doubts and you're worried. So feedback is important, and it makes it much easier to give good feedback and to accept, I guess, good feedback if you have a trustful relationship. And finally, it's really also about the money. It's actually really about the money and about performance. I think productivity. Trust goes down, everything slows down, and cost goes up. Not because it slows down, but because there's extra costs. And trust goes up, things will speed up, and costs will go down. And this is measurable. There are lots of examples. I don't know, the famous example is trust goes down. Think of 9/11. Think of flying before 9/11, thinking of flying after 9/11. That's a trust issue. I mean, I'm not saying you should be more trustful, but trust broke down after this problem happened. And from now on, you have to be at the airport an hour earlier because you want to get through security. This is speed that goes down and cost that goes up for you probably too, because it's part of, I think when you look at your ticket, there's even a security tax, whatever thing, or a special thing for it. There are gazillions of examples that it will slow you down and it will cost more because basically, if trust goes down, you will need to install all kinds of measures for control. That's what it is. If you don't trust much anymore, you will control more, you will install measures for control, and these measures will both cost something, mostly, sometimes not much, but sometimes a lot, and particularly it will take time to go through these measures every single time. And the other way around, if you have a very trustful relationship, there's an example that I read in one of my many trust books about, what is it called, Berkshire Hathaway, the company that Warren Buffett owns or is head of, and they did some merger with some branch of Walmart, something like this, and mergers are infamous in how difficult they are, how long it takes to merge, due diligence and all that, and Warren Buffett said, I believe them, I don't need to do due diligence, we could just merge it, and within a month the whole merger was done. And that is incredibly fast, this is incredibly cheap, it worked out, it sped up the merger, it put the cost down because he was trusting. And it worked in the end too. Not just that it went through fast, they didn't have any surprises, his trust was well-founded and founded enough. And another these are all these big things, 9/11 and huge mergers and everything, but another very little example that I really liked also was a guy in the streets of New York, a hot dog stand. You know how they go out and sell their hot dogs there, very famous. And he had a problem because he could not, the people liked his hot dogs and they came and there was this long line and he just couldn't serve them all. He just couldn't go through it. And then he figured out his main problem was making change, making change. And at some point he said, oh, screw it. I'll trust these people. I'll just put out a basket and they should put the money in there and make their own change. And that's it. I'm not involved. Please just put the money in there, take out your change, and I'll just serve you the hot dogs. He doubled the people that he could serve, and it turned out that people just gave him tips rather than take out money or anything. He made money, not just because it sped up and he could have more revenue because he did it faster, but also because people trusted him and repaid him for his trust and came back because they liked that. So these are all examples where you very concretely can say trust is a factor for productivity. It's not just this soft thing. It's really, it makes you more productive. And therefore, my call is, and I'll start it now and I will repeat it again towards the end, you need to be deliberate about trust. You don't need to just happen and, well, maybe trust will be there or something like this. You need to, all the time, think about what can I do to increase trust in my team, towards my people that I work with, that I manage, whatever it is. Do this deliberately because you can and you have possibilities to influence trust. You can do something so that trust is increased. And this is the next part. I want to talk about what can we do so that trust is increased. And this, cut off. That's wild because it's not cut off here, but a little bit. Okay, anyway, the wheel of trust. Great, looks super, doesn't it? I hope you like it. I think it's great. In C, not C major, C minor, I don't know. 6 C's that give you parts of what is trust, and of course, not surprisingly, I have those in here. So, want to see if we can find 6 balloons. Oh man, one trust has shrunk. Sad. This is a problem. Need to pump up some more. I could do that in a second, but anyway, what I really want to talk about is these 6 ones. It's a wheel because I feel you can go from the start and you can turn the wheel one way or another, and these things often follow. So I believe if you start with clarity, with transparency, with sincerity, you lay the basis for trust, and then you will work with the others. And you can go, clarity will have you increase the possibility for connection. That means similarity, feeling be part of something, being integrated, we have common interests and so on. It will let you be able to be compassionate once you know the connection, once you have the similarity and the common interest, there's more chance of a compassion. Clarity will also make it obvious whether how much competence there is, what the results are, what your contributions are, and once you have this, we can see that consistency, integrity, predictability will be something that you do. I say what I do, I deliver what I promise. This is consistency, and in the end, both ways. This is the nirvana of trust and of a trust culture is we have reciprocity, we have confirmation, we believe everybody is trustful towards me, I'm trustful towards them, we have a culture of trust amongst each other. So what I want to do is I want to go through actually these 6 sections and figure out what we can do to improve each of those. Okay, and maybe talk a little bit about what I mean by them and see what we can do about them. So, yeah, somehow it's a little cut off. Luckily we can see everything, but I didn't squish it in there like that. I like it better when it's a little bit more in the middle, a little bit of a margin. Anyway, we have clarity. So what is clarity? Transparency, sincerity. So that's one thing is don't hide anything. And the second thing is be true, be honest, be sincere. Right? Where do I have? I have clarity somewhere. Yeah. So how about we do this? Dangerous, huh? I'm also worried a little bit, I admit, but I have trust in my ability. Okay, I'd like to, before I tell you what I have here, is I'd like to see if you guys can give me some ideas. What do you do to increase clarity, to increase transparency? How can you demonstrate sincerity, honesty? What are things? I'd like to hang some things up here under this wonderful clarity balloon. Alex.
Express your expectations. So
okay.
I expect that you
Yep.
If you haven't heard it, express your expectations.
I was going to repeat it when I write it. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah. Express your expectations. Okay. More.
Still early.
Too early. All right. Nothing else? I mean, I don't need to go through this in length and back and forth, but I can show you what do you want me to communicate? Yes. That's exactly right, I think. Sometimes people don't think, there's too much information and another email or whatever. Maybe email is also not the best way, but rather more than less, no doubt, in my opinion. Communication. Talk about things. Talk about yourself. Not necessarily all the personal things, but the things you do. Yeah. Okay. Where's my clicker? Okay, oops, I clicked already. Okay, deal in facts is what I say. When you communicate, big thing is try to be factual. Try to make clear what the facts is. So try to avoid misunderstandings by dealing very much in facts. Not alternate facts, but facts. Obviously be honest. Lies have the tendency to be found out, and that will destroy trust immediately. Be honest. Rather say nothing if you don't want to say it, but don't lie about things. It's never good. If it comes out, it will break trust like nothing else. Communicate rather more than less. We have that. Thank you. Say what you mean what you say. Yeah, okay. This is also, be clear. This is a combination of honesty, really to me, and deal in facts. Be very clear and really mean what you're saying there. Really say, I'm behind this. This is my real opinion. This is my real, this is the way I want to deal with it, and that's what I want to have, this, whatever it is. Talk about your intent. This is also very important. What's my goal? So many people always have a problem with that. They think, okay, in the back of the mind, there's some other goal behind this. They talk about all kinds of things, but in the back, they have some other reason why they do this. The hidden agenda. Don't have a hidden agenda, I might have written here. Don't do that. Hidden is not clarity. Hidden agenda is not clarity. Be honest, because you always try to envision what happens if it comes out. And in my opinion, that will always hurt incredibly. And it will cost you productivity, because trust going down means speed goes down and costs go up. I'm absolutely sure of that. No or minimal access restrictions. This is more an example. I find it, don't be so afraid. Trust is risk-taking. We know that. That's what we said in the beginning. It makes you vulnerable. But my gosh, all these security things for that, other people that might have a benefit from it can't see it. Let them look into Jira or Target Process here or wikis and everything. Don't have all kinds of isolated things where nobody gets to mess with that, just our group, our team. Why? Why do we have team folders? Why do we have hidden things? Don't do that. Try to be as open as anyhow possible. There are reasons why sometimes you have to do it, minimal, but still. And on all the meetings, try not to have hidden meetings. There was a company that's totally cool. I was totally amazed. There was some also, I don't know if it was Black Star even, that's been in the news with Mats, but I'm not sure. There's some financial company also where they say we have extreme transparency. Every meeting they have in that company is recorded and put out on the internet. Intranet. Everybody can see and watch every meeting. That includes CEO, C-level meetings and everything. It's just visible. We say, we don't have anything to hide. We want to show and make it possible. This is an incredible increase in trust. Another thing is, salaries, very often a trust issue. Do I trust that I'm being paid fairly in comparison to my colleagues? I don't know. Well, some companies make it transparent or semi-transparent by having, these bands, and they're relatively narrow, and everybody knows who's in which band, so you know kind of how much they have. If you don't know that, then very often you think, well, is the salary system really fair in this company? I don't know. I wouldn't know. If it's open, I know. And if there are problems, that's always the argument that then comes is that, well, but we have some problems and there's some discrepancies that then you need to address them. Number one, by saying we plan on changing this, number one, and number two, I talk about it. I say that I plan on changing and that we have to adapt it. So these are all things where clarity will improve trust.
I have a question. May I?
Please.
I sometimes see an issue in teams about transparency, and the question is, should everything I do during the day end up as a task on the board for transparency?
I don't know if it needs to be a task on the board, but I think you shouldn't hide it. There's nothing wrong with everybody knowing what you do. If it's for the team and if it's in the context of the team, let the team know what you're doing. Whether it's necessary to have a task written down for it or not, I don't know. But I would, in principle, I don't see any reason why people shouldn't know. Ask yourself, what could be the problem if people would know about what I do?
The problem could be, I'm not talking about myself currently.
No,
okay.
Yeah.
The problem could be that you feel like controlled by the team.
Well, but they don't require it's your initiative to open up. It's your initiative to show, and you open up and say, I don't have to hide anything. You can know everything. I have no problem with that. That's not a control. That's just information that I give up and pass on. And the rest of the team feels, okay, she has nothing to worry. I say it's not you. I know that person has nothing to hide. It's fine. We know it, and that helps. And sometimes there are even issues that have nothing to do with trust, but sometimes it's possible that you get help.
And sometimes it's possible that you get asked, does that have to be now? So it's also a trust in the other direction required for that, maybe.
Yeah, of course. But I think it will increase. And one thing that I haven't mentioned yet, but that I wanted to mention later, it is always trust begets trust. If you give trust, you will receive trust. This is the big thing. And I think once you start going out and saying, I open up, and I show you everything that I do, and I have no problem to hide anything, and everybody's invited to our teams daily. Come, watch, be part of it. You can do everything. Then the thing is, you will receive trust from the people that you open up to. Okay, I need to speed up a little bit. I realize. We'll talk about connection, red connection. I'm not, maybe purely time reasons, maybe I won't actually give you the chance to give me some idea what we can do about connections, but I'll tell you right away. It's just a matter of timing now, sorry. That's basically, you need to know your people. You need to know your colleagues. You need to make an effort and even possibly leadership, scrum masters, POs, whatever, need to work and help to create the possibility to know yourself. I mean, IOE does lots of things like events where a company comes together, summer, winter, skiing, whatever, sponsors team events and so on. And this is something that's really important. I have that, company team events. This is really, really important. We have the COIs, common interests. And I think this is, here at AOE, a very good example of how you actually know a lot about your colleagues, and this is very good, because the more you know about them, the more you discover that there's always some similarity. There's similarities you will find, even though at first glance it seems like, wow, no, not at all, but there will always be something that you have in common that you can talk about with that person, and that increases trust. It just increases trust. It's hardwired into our genes, as a matter of fact, from thousands of years ago. You belong to my tribe. We have something where we have something in common. We are one tribe, we are together, and then we trust each other much more. So this is basically the idea of this. Find the common interests, see the similarities, work on that. The competence was not so small. It's the competence, luckily, but no matter what, it's sad that something gets small. So the competence here is obvious. I mean, if I may use a German word, we trust, obviously, is Vertrauen. In competence we have this little extension where it's Zutrauen. If I trust somebody to be able to do it, traue ich ihnen zu. Not necessarily do I believe that they will do it honestly, that they will do the best they can, and so on. But also, are they even able to do it? And this is, of course, important. And you need to demonstrate competence. How do you demonstrate competence, or how you get it? Well, of course, we want to have a continuous improvement, both of the people itself, but of the teams too. Because is a team competent? Do I trust the team to be able to do it? Not just one person. So. Retros feedback, continuous improvement, very important. Have a learning culture. Say, we want you all to continuously learn and improve. This is important in this company, so we will make all kinds of things, slack time maybe for competence development, knowledge hours, all kinds of hackathon, pokeathons, designathons, what do I know, or sometimes we ship it days or exploration days called, all these things. I do lots of demos. I show, this is the results. I show my results. That has to do with clarity. I make sure that everybody knows that we produce results that will show the competence. And of course, we need to appreciate the contribution of people. This has helped, this person has done this, and this person has done this. We get this through task boards, we get this through kudos, we get this through various things. But show the contribution. Everybody, it should be clear that somebody contributes to the outcome and to the results. Okay? Now comes the little guy. Sorry, so sad. But I had to pump him up yesterday, or in the night maybe even, and didn't do a good job with the knot. Compassion. So what's compassion? What do you do to give compassion, show compassion? A little bit I want to get you involved and not just talk and talk. I don't want compassion.
Understanding somebody's problems or their issues that they're dealing with.
Right. Compassion is not too dissimilar to empathy. I feel for you. And I show that, and I do it, and I honestly mean it. Benevolent concern, it means I really actually put my interests behind yours. Put their interests ahead of mine. It's better phrased in a better way. If I have a situation where I need to decide, and one thing is better for me, and one thing is better for the person that I want to give trust to, then I go with that one. Don't be egotistical, be altruistical maybe. Do something for the other people. Do something good for others, yeah? Listen carefully. My thing is just, everybody some people have been to my training, listening is just the thing that we have stopped doing. No, not stopped doing, I'm sorry, that's a little extreme, but have really not done a good job keeping up. Really honest, proper listening. Looking somebody in the eye and giving your attention to them and listen to their things and making it possible for them to tell you their problems and their issues and just listen to them. That's compassion right there. And just listen to them being able to tell you their problems. Not immediately offer a solution, just be there for them. Just being there for them is compassion. Not necessarily giving them a solution. Don't even think about the solution. Sometimes I say listening is not just not talking, it's also not thinking about talking. And that's difficult. You need to do that. Yeah, if you listen, don't think about talking, just listen. Think about what they're saying. And be open and hear what they say. And be emotional then also. It's fine. I earlier said deal in facts. When you communicate, be clear, have clarity. We have NVC here, communicate compassionately, NVC. We talked about this nonviolent communication. There's been seminars and everything. And it's always facts, but then you talk about what do I feel and what are my needs. And this is what you need to do here with compassion. And, ask for help and apologize is also, and praise. Don't always just, there's this, I need to go to German again, but there's this very famous saying in German is, nicht gescholten ist genug gelobt. And that's not right, that's just not fair. And that's not right, and you shouldn't do that. Go out. I've read books where they say you should have a 5-to-1 relationship of praise and criticism. For every one criticism, you have to have at least 5 times praising. Otherwise, you have, because the criticism hits real hard, praise takes a while to set in. So repeat it. Positive feedback. Somebody says, oh, I need to give you feedback. You know what's coming, right? I need to give you feedback. Says, ooh. Yeah. And what a great thing it would be if then the feedback would be, this was so great and this was wonderful and I like what you do there and I think the support, and that's it. And then you go out and the guy will probably say, what? Where was the criticism? Take the time and say, I want to give feedback without having an agenda of trying to point out something that is not going well. How amazing would that be? Getting a feedback talk and an intentional, I would like to give you feedback, say, okay, and then it's just praise. Wow. Okay. What do I have here? Consistency, predictability, integrity. Yeah. This is the famous, what are the words that we use there often, or what are the typical, there's some sayings. Walk the talk. Practice what you preach. Don't say something and don't do it. Very, very common though. Let's face it. It seems so, many of those seem so clear and obvious, but people just don't do it. And that's a problem. I've had so many situations where somebody feels, and it's often, again, not AOE necessarily, it's often in management situations where they say they have the need to say something real quick, come up with an answer or something, and just throw something out, and then they can't keep it up. They can't answer it anymore. They will not follow through, and this is a huge problem. And again, and this is a very common thing, trust in leadership is always a hard part, and people have more problems, maybe because there's not enough transparency, and maybe because things like this happen. Commitments will be given, promises will be given, and they're not kept. They're just not kept. And this is important, people. This is also important for a Scrum Master who says, I'll take care of your problem, and then you don't. You can't do that. Don't do that. Then don't promise it. If you're not sure you can, then I say, I'll see what I can do. And then make transparent what you're doing, and if it doesn't work, fine. Maybe it's okay. But then you will not lose trust. If you say, oh yeah, I'll fix that problem for you, and then you don't, you'll lose trust. And that's consistency. That's integrity. This is where you say, communicate your goals, communicate your values, be okay with admitting mistakes. It didn't work, I'm sorry, failed there, admit the mistake, no problem. This helps. And the final one, confirmation. Of course, there I would have probably picked reciprocity. Can you read that word? Reciprocity. It's always a tongue twister. I always say to make it true. Because some people, I said, what is meant with this? It's a little bit like I scratch your back, you scratch my back. You know what that means? So I do something good, and now somebody will do something good for me, or you will do something good for me. But the real thing is I don't expect something good from you because I did something good to you. You know, I go to the BS and say, here, scratch your back, please. No, I do it because it's okay. And then some other day, all of a sudden, Alex comes and scratches mine. That's the point. And that's really what I mean. This is where it's really great, where you say, I scratch somebody's back, I help somebody, I do something good for somebody. It does not mean that I expect him to do something good for me immediately. Not a tit for tat, well, I did this for you, now I expect something from you. No, I expect that he will do that maybe to somebody else, and it comes around, and at some point somebody will do something good for me. And this is when I talk about a trust culture. When this happens, you have a trust culture. You have because we trust each other, and we do good in the expectation that sometimes something good will come out of for me too. That's the big thing about confirmation. Do good to others, be patient, good things will be done for you. That's sort of what I said. Joint successes should be celebrated, make clear that we do something together. That's also this part about the experience. Experience the trust, show it, make it transparent, praise and recommend others. And then the big thing, treat others as you want to be treated. And the last thing is then I'm coming back to this now empty bag, advance trust. I think this is really, really important. You need to advance trust. There's so many proverbs in German where they say, trust needs to be earned, trust is good, controlling is better, and stuff like this. I'm totally not for it. Advance the trust. Give the trust. Take the risk. You will reap the benefits because once you start with it, it will come back to you and it will enhance the trust. It's like a cycle. You give trust, people will start giving trust. You will give more trust, other people will start giving trust, and everybody will. If you start with being suspicious and not trustful, you will get the same cycle just in the other way around. That's important. So, but what happens if you break in trust? Bag empties. This is empty now, but we didn't break it. But, we could break it. We could. I wanted to do that, sorry, but maybe it didn't make any sense, but I wanted to do that, maybe also help to wake up some people. What happens if we break trust? It goes incredibly fast. That's one thing. Breaking trust is easy, and it's just a little thing, and boom, it's gone. Trust is broken, and it's really sad. But what you need to address it. If your trust that you have given somebody has been broken, you need to talk about it. You need to just not let it go and be upset about it. You need to be, I would say aggressive is maybe the wrong word, but be offensive. Go out and say, I'm going to deal with this. I'm not just going to let it happen, or in the quiet create some repercussions. I make it very clear that I want to talk about this broken trust with the people, with that person or the people that broke the trust. That's very, but do it not in an angry way. Even you might feel angry. Be careful. Here I put down this NBC thing again. People know that I like NBC. Even though it's hard and everything, but be careful in the way you formulate. You just make sure that your feelings are there. State what you observed as a broken trust and say, and this hurts me because frustrates me or whatever, and because I need that trust. I need you to keep up the trust that I give you, and go on this. And of course, one thing is very important. Trust can be broken intentionally and unintentionally, deliberately or unintentionally. It could be a competence problem. It could be a forgetfulness or misunderstanding and whatever. It can be unintentional, it can be intentional. You need to try to figure that one out, because if it's unintentional, you need to deal with it in a very different way. Obviously, then you say, what can we learn from it? What can I learn from it as a trustor, and what can you learn from it as a trustee? What can we both learn from it so that it's better next time, so that it doesn't happen again next time? If it was deliberate, you need to think about consequences. You cannot let it go. Do not let it go, because if you see that something will be let go, that a trust is broken and it will be let go and nothing happens, terrible. Then trust will start being broken again and again and again. Consequences must be there, and best really make them public. Just if you have a chance, if it's possible, only punish or have the consequences applied to the person who broke the trust or the group who broke the trust. I remember there was some company where I heard, all of a sudden they realized there were people stealing coffee or toilet paper. It's something stupid, and load their car and drive out, because it was accessible, So what did they do? They locked away the stuff, and they had random checks at the gate for everyone. That hurt everybody. But that's not the way to deal with it, in my opinion. The way to deal with it is try to find out who it is and talk with them and figure out with them, not punish everybody. We have people... I'm again, not AOE. There are people who use flex time in a very flexible way by showing up at 10 and leaving at 4 and having 2-hour lunch breaks and everything, and this happens again and again. Well, you can address it with these people, or you can put up systems where you have to punch or, swipe your card and check it. That's the second thing, is punishing everybody for something when your trust is broken by a few. So focus on the few, don't make it happen for everyone. And refilling the bag, gaining the trust again, pumping up a balloon. I won't do it. I have there, but I'm too much time now. Pumping up the balloon again and adding stuff into your bag is, if you are the one who broke the trust, intentional or deliberate, if you want it to be there again, if you feel like it's important, acknowledge. Say yes, sorry, and apologize. Goes a long way. I don't know if you've had that experience that people broke your trust, intentional or unintentional, doesn't matter. Once they come to you and say, okay, sorry, I did this, yes, and I'm sorry for it, and I will do the best so that it won't happen again, you have a much bigger chance to be able to trust them again. If they don't say anything and say, yeah, but the circumstances and blah, blah, how easily will it be to trust them? Rather when they say, yes, sorry, let's move on. I'll do better next time. What can we do together so we can do better? Very, very important. And then, of course, use that trust wheel that I just showed you. Look at the 6 balloons. Look at what they stand for, and figure out what can we do in each of these wheels. Where is the tire of the wheel flat? Where do I need to pump it up? What can I do? I've listed all kinds of things. Try to focus on these. Try to get it. But deliberately do it. Think about it. And building up trust takes a long time, so be patient. So, I'll skip this because we don't have time. Take the plunge. Do not be afraid to trust. That's what I'm trying to give you as a message. Give the trust advance. Go ahead, give trust even though you're not sure about it. Take the risk, take the plunge. Be deliberate about your trust relationships, and a trust culture just might emerge. Okay, thank you.